questions from the other day, we are going to jump into our new topics. Again, a lot of them are extending what we've already done in the basics. Again, adding to it so that you can see what the higher levels can do that the basics covered, but again, not necessarily did the long way, but did it the original way to do it. So let's go ahead and jump right into our software. And we're going to revisit some of the stuff that you did do for homework. So I'm going to grab the Shapes 1 exercise. So again, just as a reminder, again, I'm going to put it back on here on purpose. Just as a reminder, it is looking at the shape of the overall size of the piece of paper. So when you are resizing, that is what it's resizing. So the first thing that we're going to look at is going to be some of our new drawing shortcuts. So let's go ahead and we can use the drawing shortcuts with our pen tool, our running stitch tool, our complex fill. So the same ones that we did the other day, the drawing shortcuts are going to apply to. So let's go ahead. We can even just start with the pen tool, pick a color. So the first shortcut that we're going to do is the letter A for arc. So the arc is a 3-point tool. So for every 3 points that you plot, you get a perfect half circle. So where the quick draw was giving you an average of the points that you put in, literally this is giving you a half circle. So it understands that number 3 point on the first curve is the first point in the next one. So I can put in 2 and then 3. Now I can't go into that straight line with a curve, so I'm going to hit the letter B for Bezier. Left click. Again, it hasn't snapped yet, and that's okay. We can hit the letter A for arc, plot the next 2 points, and then hit the Enter key. So again, we have this piece of vector art right now. So let's go ahead and convert it over to a running stitch. So again, equals on your keyboard, or you can hit the convert key, is going to bring that drop down up. We can hit running stitch. And what you're going to realize with your running stitch is that you have an extra style here. So under your run style, you can also pick programmed. Now, previously, we only used programmed with a fill and an applique. So now we've added it to the regular running stitch. So we can go into that programmed box and select whichever one of these patterns you wish to use. Now with these, you can also go in, space them out. So let's say you want 5. So you can add space between them. So you can do all sorts of stuff with the programmed here. Yes, it's a fancy running stitch is the easiest way to explain what that is. Now we also have, we'll just use our steel stitch for the time being. We also have our electronic T-square. So I'm going to hit the letter B for Bezier. So that puts us in our Bezier mode. And then what we're going to do is left click to start this. Now to activate that electronic T-square, F2 is force to horizontal. So you can see at the bottom right-hand side, it says horizontal align mode. So I can be like way below my artwork, left click, and see how it just popped that perfectly horizontal. So that is your horizontal mode. The key with that is you do have to turn it off. So I have to turn off the horizontal mode. Once I have turned off the horizontal mode, then what I'm going to do, there we go, turn it off. And then I'm going to turn around and put in the letter A for arc. Oh, I'm still in horizontal mode. Backspace. All right, there we go. Hold on. There we go. A for arc. Plot the next 2 points. Put in our horizontal mode. Hit B for Bezier. Again, you can be off. So again, if you're down here, it's going to pop that right in line as soon as you hit your enter key. Oh, come on, you're in horizontal mode. My computer is not behaving today. Yeah, I saw it at the bottom too. I don't know why it's not behaving. There we go. Let's move that up here. Yeah, you can still use shift. Shift can be within 15 degrees. So that's what you have to kind of watch with that. Okay, so you do have to kind of watch the shift key when you are using it. Shift is nice when you are in here and you're going ahead and quickly plotting points and you don't want to have to keep hitting F2, turn off F2. But again, you can be off within 15 degrees. So that's the only thing I'll say about that. Just to review your quick draw mode, again, with your quick draw mode, you are going to hit the Q for quick draw. It puts that curve in there. You're going to pick your color, and then you are left clicking for a straight point, right clicking for a curve. Just remember that it is an average. So as opposed to the other one being a half circle, that's an average. Right, so when you're doing this, you can select any color you want. So I mean, if you want this to be another color, you're just selecting that color by clicking on it. Now the next one we want to work with is going to be our Bezier. So that is actually the original mode that we all had. So let's go back to let's go back to our pen tool. We're going to hit B for Bezier. So with this one, you have to click and drag. So you are going to left click to start this. Then you have to find the end of your curve. So you have to go all the way to the end of your curve, left click, hold, and drag. So you're dragging that out. Hold your control key, and that allows you to bring this point in. So you're going to bring it in the direction you are going in next. So you want to find the end, the end of your curve, hold your control key, bring that point in, going in the direction you're going in next. So you're always looking for the end of the curve. So yeah, once you grab that control key, it releases that point. You can pull it in the direction you're going in next. So let's say that you didn't like that point. Backspace is how you can get rid of a point. So again, backspace is going to let you do one point at a time. So then you can just pull it. And again, you're just bending that to fit. So you're going to click and drag, and again, you're going to bend that to fit. Hold your control key, bring it in. Find the end of that next curve. Then you're going to hit your Enter key. The letter S for select. Again, remember with your pen tool, you do have to turn it into something. So we can hit our equals key on our keyboard. Let's say we want this to be a steel stitch. Now again, just remember with your steel stitch that you do have that auto corner. So I know a lot of people forget about auto corner. So auto corner is going to figure out the most appropriate corner type. Anybody have that one? Now the next thing we want to start to look at are going to be your drawing tools other than the pen tool. So the pen tool we had all along, but now let's say we're over here, we want to start creating some of these shapes. Obviously we can use the pen tool, but we also have a rectangle and an ellipse tool. So again, all of these are creating vector artwork. Then that vector artwork can be turned into any of your stitch types. So we can go ahead and hit that rectangle tool, pick a color, put your cursor in a corner. Again, you're going to see you get a rubber banding rectangle. If you hold your shift key, it forces a square. So you can let go, hit S for select. Now we can hit equals. So let's say we make this into a complex fill. So again, what's really cool about your complex fills in the higher levels of software is that you have an auto border. So we did have the border previously that we did then with the create boundary. So we're going to kind of show you the difference. So I'm going to go ahead and do my auto border. So I can right click, go to auto, steel border. Now what makes this different is that if we go in and create a hole. So first of all, we can create holes after the fact. So we can come over here and let's say we get our ellipse tool, which is like a circle. So again, we can click and drag, holding our shift key gives us a perfect circle. I'm going to let go of that. So now if I take that and put it in a box, so if I click and drag a box, and then I come up here to my combine tool. Combine not only cuts a hole, but because I use the auto border, it can auto border that hole. Now once you're done creating the holes, if you want to break that apart, that would make it separate from the original fill. So we can come over here to break up. So break up is going to now have the fill separate from the border. Yes, we can undo that a second. So let's just go to undo. So right now, these are together. So if they weren't broken apart, you're going to see in your sequence view that says multiple clients. All that really means is it used the same points twice and they're still connected. But definitely if you wanted to go in and manipulate them separately, you'd have to go to breakup. Then these items are going to be totally separate. So for instance, if you wanted to select the borders and come in here and put in your trims. So you do have your insert trim and end over here. So you can always use that. And if you hold that down, you also have your end locks over there. It doesn't put in your regular lock though, so you're right. It doesn't do that. But it can put in the other ones. Yeah, you can always go in and put in both lock stitches. Okay. All right, so we'll look at that. The next one we'll look at the your border so you can kind of see the difference. So when you come in here, we can use, let's just go ahead and use our complex fill tool. Pick our color. Left click to start this. Again, we can hold that shift key. O to close. Hit the enter key. So again, start, stop, put in whatever angle you want. Now, the border that we looked at the other day, so instead of the auto border, this one we're going to come in here and go to auto create boundary. All I can do is go around the outside of your shape. So you can say outline. If you put in 0, it's going to be exactly on your shape. Then you can pick run or steal. But again, it's only going to go around the outside. If I put a hole in here, it has no way to go around the hole. So it just depends on what you're doing, which one of these you want to use. Right, if I were to put the hole in here now, so if I come in here, because they're separate, so if I come in here and put a hole, so let's go ahead, we'll even delete this one off. So let's go here, we're going to delete that border off, so you'll kind of see what we're talking about. So right now I've got the hole and I've got the outer piece. I can hit combine to make a hole. So now if I go to auto create boundary, make this 0, put in a steal, all it knows how to do is do the outside because it's the boundary around the outside. So like I said, it depends on what you want to do. So there's not a right or a wrong way, you just have extra ways. Someday I'll stop doing that too. There we go. Now, when we come over here to do our oval, whether or not we're doing our oval with a complex fill, we're doing it with a pen tool. So again, ovals, when we're doing it with the regular tools we were drawing. Ovals using the ellipse tool is like that rectangle tool. So we don't have to draw that perfectly. So we can put in some guidelines. So you can click and drag because it wants you to drag from a corner. So we can come over here to the ellipse tool, pick our color. So I'd stop moving my color bar all over the place. Click and drag, and then you can place it right on here. That's so perfect compared to what I can draw. So then you still have to come in here and convert it because that is an art tool. So again, this could be a steal, it could be a run, it can be whatever it is that you want it to be. So it's really cool. So let's say I come in here and I make this a running stitch. One of the other things that you have is something called Settings Painter. So you can see over here you've got Settings Painter. So we can come over here to this running stitch. Remember the one I changed to the programmed? I can come over here and say copy settings. Then I can come here, select this running stitch, go to paste settings, and it's going to put those in there. Probably not a good one to do because it is kind of hard for it to do that, but yeah. It's taking those settings and repeating them. Right, this is over here in the programmed. Right, we can still come in here, so it's the same color, so it needs a trim over here. Here, let me thumbtack this for a second. So you can come in here because these are the same color. You can select this, and then you can put your trim in. Right, so copy and paste is literally that. It's copy and paste settings. Now we could, if we wanted to, we could come over here and we could move these guidelines to make the circle. But we actually have a circle tool. So I can select any of these. We can go ahead and hit R for round. So that becomes a 3-point circle tool. So I can click 1, 2, and 3, and it's going to make a perfect circle. Again, I could come over here, go to paste settings, and it's going to paste those. Does anyone have any questions on that so far? So there is one other drawing mode. It's kind of fun when, especially if you're using that new brush tool. So with the brush tool, if I hit F for freehand, I can literally just start using my mouse to create that. Hit my enter key. And again, what I would suggest though, especially if you're using freehand, because sometimes you get a lot of points close together, I tend to go in then and hit auto reduce nodes, just because sometimes it works a lot better if you don't have nodes right piled on top of each other. Then remember with your brush tool, you can come in, you can say both, and then we could put this on fixed. So that kind of looks fun when you're doing your name that way. Ready with us? All right. So what we want to do next, we're going to look at our other slicing. So we did virtual slice. We're going to look at that again in a minute. But when you have artwork, so again, we've been putting vector art up here. So when you come in with a piece of vector art and you're going to slice it. So you could come in here and actually use the regular slicing tool. So here's your regular slice. So the first way of slicing is literally making a straight line. So you're clicking and dragging with it. Then you can come up here to break up, and it makes it into 2 separate pieces. So that's literally what slice is meant to do. Then underneath the slice, you also have curved slice. So I can literally draw a curve, hit the enter key. Oh, I didn't connect that. Let's start here. Right click to get our curves. Come down here, hit the enter key. There we go. Now we can break it up, and it's doing a curved slice. Now the other one that we have is a box slice. So with your box slice, whatever you click and drag is what it's keeping. So again, it's just a way for you to edit vector art. Okay, everybody with me on that? Anybody have any questions so far? Everybody good? Now, along the same lines is when you have other items. So again, especially if you are drawing. So let's say we draw our square over here. We also can come in here under that vertex tool and you've got your rounded corner. So I can come in here and literally just start to round a corner. Underneath there, we also have drag anchor path. So again, I don't have to be on a point. I can literally just start dragging and it's going to start to let me pull that and make that curve. So again, extra editing tools that other people do not have. So it kind of makes your job a little bit easier. Okay? So let's go in. We're going to look at branching. Okay? So let's go ahead. First of all, we're going to do two different things. We're going to look at auto trace. And then we're going to look at how that affects branching. So we're going to go in. I'm going to start a new file. So if we come in here and go to our image load, let's grab that sailboat we were working on. So if you remember when we were doing this, we did 3 pieces to create that border. Everybody remember that? We could actually do this with the higher levels of software. We can use auto trace and use our virtual slices. So we can come in with our satin path, hit T for trace. We're going to come in here with our with holes, left click, hit the enter key. So if we come in here with our virtual slice, so remember virtual slice is what's breaking this up. Then we can come in with our angle line tool. That's what's making our stitch directions. Right, the higher you get, what you're really getting is the capability of going in here and doing things quicker. So it's giving you more of the ability to change things. So here's these. So it put those running stitches in for us. Now the other thing that we have, because when you start using your virtual slices, you're also going to find that when we were drawing that before, we had some overlap. So now we'd actually have to go in under our quality control and turn on the automatic overlap. So you can see if it needs to overlap, see how it put some extra stitches in there? And really it's going to depend on where things start and stop. So let's say it starts over here and it's going to end over here. If it feels it needs to add extra stitching there, it will. So really it just depends. Yeah, it just changed how much you put here too. So it really just depends on where it's connecting, if it needs to put in that overlap. So it's really for any branched segment. Now there's two ways that you can go in and branch. So the first way is to use your virtual slice. The other way, very similar to what we were doing with this, is that we're still going to create these orange pieces separately, but if we combine them back together, that's the other way we can branch our satins. So satins are the only things that are branched. So if we come in here, we can go to our satin path. I'm going to draw these, so I'm going to select my color. So I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to deliberately cut this short. O to close, hit the Enter key. Okay, so here's this one. Now, remember that tool everybody couldn't figure out what we would ever do with it? So here's your power copy. Click and drag. Then when you start clicking and dragging here, it's going to allow you to duplicate, resize, and rotate all in the same tool. So you don't have to do separate tools. Then we hit our Enter key to process those. Now remember, we have a circle tool now, so we can actually go into our satin path. We can come in here and go to our R for round. So there's 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. So there's 2 circles. Hit the Enter key. Put in your angle lines. So you have to have enough to get around your shape. So I didn't put any running stitches in there. So if I come in here, select that color, and I go back, remember that combine tool? Combine is branching. So it's gone in here and put in those running stitches. Again, I can put in my automatic overlap. See how it just overlapped these where it needed to? So if it needs to overlap, it's going to do that. So the ones that it needed to overlap, it will. So that's what your automatic overlap is doing for you. So anything that's branched, it's allowing the overlap to occur, and you can control how much the overlap is. So kind of going back to our vector import. So now if I come in here and I bring that same design in as a vector. So again, because this is a vector file, I can easily come in here and resize it. Because again, I'm not resizing stitches, I'm resizing lines. Let's put the background I can see on. Now, personally, I like to come in here, go shape, and remove fill color because all that overlap color drives me crazy. So sometimes you come in here and you get things like this. So here's a piece and here's a piece. Everybody with me? Those should be together. So let's kind of take our properties and unthumbtack them. So if I select this one, see that's there, and if I scroll down, see these two pieces here? Those should be combined together to get a satin stitch. So I'd have to come up here and hit combine and make them one piece. Same thing when we come in here. This piece and this piece need to be combined together. So if you didn't have the higher levels of software that had combine, you would have to bring this back into an art program and be able to do that, or you couldn't go ahead and create these shapes properly. So again, you've got some vector editing tools that you wouldn't necessarily have. Now, you also have the ability, so if I come in here, I can select this. Obviously, I can just start going. So here's my complex fill. Now, if you just start putting in angle lines, it automatically knows that this is a satin stitch. So that makes it kind of nice. Now with these, you'd still have to put in those running stitches. So again, you can't get out of that because you really can't branch these because they're separate stitch types. So that you would have to do. Now again, with these, we can easily come in, just start putting in angle lines. Right, that's why everybody wants vector files, because I didn't have to draw this. So because somebody else did it, I can just start applying stitch types, and it makes it so much quicker. So again, you just have 4 angle lines, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I can grab these, and then I can go to combine. It's going to branch them, and then you could go in and add your automatic overlaps or anything else that you needed. Now you also have what's called auto breakup. So remember before we had this shape, and we had to put in our virtual slices and our angle lines? You can have the software do it for you because you have what's called auto breakup. So if I hit my equals key and I make this into a satin path, right click, auto breakup. It just did that for me. So it put in the slice lines, it put in the angle lines. So again, it can make your job so much quicker. So again, you could obviously just come in here, put in some angle lines for these, or again, equals, satin path, shift and the letter Z is auto breakup. But see how many angle lines I put? Like, I probably wouldn't put that many. But again, you can always delete some. So we could actually come in and grab these, combine them. Oh, I think I've got an extra piece in there. Let's see. I do. I have this piece in here, so it won't let me combine them. So let me hide this one. Now I can do it. And once you do that, you could come in and come over here with your automatic overlap. Puts in the overlap where it needs it. So it's going in here and making this very quick to do, because you can apply some of these and again just make it a quick, easy way that you can come in and convert things, have it automatically path it, put in extra angle lines. So it's going to do that for you. Now with our satins, you've also added to it. So let me go in here and put in my angle line. You've also added to that another property here. So under standard, you also have contour. So again, it's coming in here and filling it in with running stitches. So it's kind of doing that effect to it. Again, it's an option. So just another quick way to go in and fill that in. Now you kind of remember we talked about the emoji tool before. Now, other than the emoji tool, the original kind of emoji tool that we had is the symbol tool. So again, in your symbol tool, get my properties back up here. You can see that you can come in here and not only can you use the ones that we put in here, I even saved my own. So you can come in here and select from here and start clicking and dragging. So again, it has symbols that are in here that you can use, or you could go in and save your own. So if you were over here and you kind of like this and you thought you would use this again, you can select it, right click, go to save a symbol. You have to tell it that pivot point, so you have to click and drag. And then we're going to call this arrow sun. So again, if I'm over here and I go into that symbol tool, oh, here's the symbol tool. Scroll, here's arrow sun. There you go. So that is your symbol tool. Okay. So now what we want to do is we are going to go in